Hello and welcome back to Timberwolf has made a mess of everything and now he needs to clean it up. And I do mean it. I do mean everything. I mean, not just the tycooning, but the whole series is just rapidly kind of, it may not have been flush, but it is certainly orbiting the rim of the virtual toilet. That's how things go. Right. What should we do today? Before we go anywhere, let's at least get into something. And actually, there was a new forest, wasn't there? Yes, there is this one. It's kind of down here, but geographical knowledge aside, there was a forest which had been constructed. I distinctly remember no, was it this one? I distinctly remember tunneling under a forest somewhere. Did I just miss that I already had a station? This could be one of those ones where go to me go, no, Timber, you're so dumb you didn't even notice that you already had a station where you were building. Well, let's backtrace it from our farm, because I'm fairly sure there was a forest somewhere. Lost a forest. Have we lost a forest? And talk about it going wrong. It's just gradually going even more wrong. How do you lose a forest? Okay, so first, which farm were you at when you found the forest? So the thrilling thing we are going to do this episode is Timberwolf is going to attempt to find his forest without going back and reviewing previous episodes, which would tell him exactly where it is, because you'd be able to review. Now these go up. Actually, we do even connect this. Let's go back. Let's go back round here. Let's go back. So this comes out kind of here onto this, and then goes across down here. So no, Colford Woods. That's fine. I have a bad feeling about this. That I just spent an episode carefully connecting everything, and it's gone horribly wrong. Yes, it has. It has indeed gone totally horribly wrong, because in the previous episode, I totally missed where I was on the map, and I just failed to connect this. So let's go back and find the farm. It was going over here. This is just... Yes, so... All of that connection that I was showing you, all for nothing. I was not connecting the thing to the thing. I was connecting the thing to some completely unrelated bit of network that I just built. Even while I was talking about how you should not do that, how people who actually know what they're doing would tell you don't do that. It's a stupid idea. Well, what you saw me do in the previous episode, don't do that. It is a stupid idea. So, anyway, let's bring this down here. Episode 7, and it's an enormous mess. Now, I think it took at least 12 episodes for 1815 start to go horribly wrong. So I'm getting more efficient with this. Getting more efficient at having disasters. So this, yeah, let's build a bridge. Who cares? You're going to make a mess of it anyway. You're probably connecting completely the wrong thing up. Too much time delving in nostalgia. Not enough time actually being any good at the game. So that's going to connect that up to there. That's probably going to bring that back there. Let's get to where it's going. Yes, in theory. In theory, this will now be able to go over here. Now I have a completely pointless junction into Swindon Lakeside. So let's get rid of that, because that is a big old mess. Oh, yeah. Yes. So there was an entirely worthless bit of tycooning. They built a thing which I should not have built. I misidentified a forest, and then just like, and destroyed the AI's roads. Well, there we go. We did something productive. Destroyed some roads. I've made a point about junctions. Okay, pretend that never happened. Ignore the huge scars on the landscape. Yes. Yes, I'm bad at the game and bad at YouTube. So, yes, I was going to connect with New Forest, but actually, there is no New Forest because I apparently can't even read what's going on a map. And I noticed this as well. Last episode, I was sort of playing it back and kind of going, what is the sort of quotient of random background noises from the dogs, or because it's summer and we have the windows open, people riding inconsiderately loud motorcycles, or the clock. I think there was definitely a point at which our ground level clock kind of went off in the background. You could faintly hear it under the things. So that's sort of all that part of the professional audio quality that you're used to. Ooh, that's interesting. Forest decreased. Why is that? Although that's not good. This is a mess, but you kind of think, well, that's fine, This is a series about ineptitude, but it's not even doing the YouTubing correctly because there's all this advice on what you should do, and I'm certainly not following any of it. I'm fairly sure, you're supposed to be doing a Let's Play, and you often extended probably about 12, 13 minutes in total. Extended rant about the 1970s and early 1980s musical output of a popular rock and blues musician. And yet, I talk about having nostalgia for an album, which I don't think I ever mentioned which of the late 70s and early 80s Clapton albums particularly is the one that I have nostalgia for. Let's make this right. So this is becoming a mess. I'm going to do those lovely cross-map things because that feels like something that would be fun. So let's create a power station in Cornwall. Hopefully at this point, so the AI isn't just a sort of frenzy of trying to connect themselves to this. So down here we're going to have a station. So yes, so I did that, and they didn't even mention which one it was. But maybe if I was really good at this YouTubing thing, as well as encouraging you to like and or share and or subscribe at suitable intervals, as you're supposed to do. Which I don't know why. It's weird because like everyone I know, it just winds them right up. Please, I came to here to watch you witter on about late 70s Eric Clapton, not to be asked to subscribe to your channel. That's totally unreasonable. It winds people right up. It's an utter cliche, and the thing that kind of I also know from people that have studied it is apparently it works. Apparently we're all just easily manipulated and will indeed like, share, and smash that bell if we are only told to. If we're not going to do it, we're not going to do that. But yes, if I knew what I was doing, I would have done this in some way to drive engagement. So I'd have asked you, hey, can you guess which late 70s, early 80s, not very good Eric Clapton album I have a lot of nostalgia for? Put your answers in the comments below. But no, we're going to be totally hypocritical now, because what has happened there is I have called out attention to the phenomenon, but then I have done all of the things in the phenomenon. I have essentially tried to subvert the begging you to click arbitrary buttons in your YouTube panel. I've got, yes, I'm being very clever, I'm subverting that, but no, secret technique there. I'm actually doing exactly the thing I'm complaining about, because by mentioning it, I'm drawing it. What on earth are you doing, Tim Wolf? I know we're talking about what on earth you're doing, just in a sort of general life sense, but just signaling as well. What are you doing with the signaling? And I'm going to keep that. This is going to be. So let's do that. Let's pop that there, and let's This monument to Timberwolves ineptitude. Right. Yes, so yes, no, I'm deliberately trying to drive engagement by getting my audience to reveal they know the name of at least one Eric Clapton album, and it's not one of the really popular ones either. And what do you say? So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to completely ignore that I've probably built enough lines going through here that would actually already be a fairly decent main line. And I can just build another line going through here. Because as it's sort of becoming rapidly clear that I have a very fragile connection with reality. No, it's just nonsense semaphore again. Of course, because I selected the semaphores and now we don't need multiple monuments to my ineptitude. There we go. I'm back sensible, so. And yes, but yes, generally they're not a fan with the sort of advertising and self-promotion and whatever. Sort of Timberwolf, join Timberwolf, he takes you on a wild journey, and that would totally be a anyway, because you kind of, what's going on here? Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong. It's a whole world of wrongness, and I don't know how to get out of this. This sort of, we could have diagonal level crossings. That would, just destroy the motorway. This is totally realistic. There we go. Right. Ooh, and that looks like a freight line. We could totally join up with that. Or we could, if we actually had. See, this is going to involve building a really long bridge, which I don't want to do. So, how can I get around this? So, well, I'm going to get around not building a really long bridge by building a moderately long bridge, but that's fine. My standards for the quality of my network are just going down. Let's signal that awfully, because that's going to have an uneven signal gap. It's going to get, of course, trains to slow down, but let's not go for maximum capacity. I'm not sure we're going for anything really with this network. So we come down here. This comes towards Bournemouth, and now we want to join the line, the wood line, which goes along here. So there we go. That's going to go around there. Swirl over that. Swirl over the passenger network as well. And then the AI is probably built this. So yes, owned by Watkins and Company. Damn you, Watkins! Watkins! How dare you! So now we need to go around here, and they need to bring the Fingum, the track round there in the junction. So yes, so there we go. That could sort of come around there. And if that goes over there, we actually probably keep this up at the higher level entirely. Just build sort of artificial hill, that's fine. It's totally realistic. There we go. And then another hill there. Oh no! No, that's... Oh, no. How many times can people say the word no and sort of it form a coherent narrative? This is why, Yes, I follow Timberwolf's channel. It's riveting. He says no a lot. There's a lot of narrative potential in it. Good no. So where does this go? Does this connect to anything? Might it connect it to anything? Connect it to Well, yes, actually. It's going to sort of trundle through all these junctions, but I think this is connected. Now, should we actually test this in episode? So actually see if this has been connected. Dear, my wild, frantic clicking is just really is a bane of my existence, isn't it? Right. Let us get some coal going. While this is not producing that much coal, I still think it's going to need a fairly large train, because we're going to go all the way across the map, across the entire map. This is really going to ruin the profit stats of these trains. So, there we go. Oh, that's looking okay, isn't it? Let's clone a few of those. That's actually going to be a problem with that, because we're not going to have space for the trains to fit. So I could build a really nice, well thought out station, or I could not. You know how that's going to go down. I'm just pretty much at the stage where I'm just giving up, really. Just sort of like a shell, a kind of. I know that's not going to work, because that would have to then turn around the. Actually, did it only works if they go via the depot. Oh no! I can't even correctly become a hollow husk of a person. Just completely given up, because this would need to go for a 90-degree turn, which it can't do. Oh dear. Well, that's not worked out. What I could do, so let's make this worse. Because all of that work in science videos that I do on talking about sort of, consistent signal caps and sensible station design and making it all work really nicely and optimizing it and trying it for yourself, very important point that I always make. And here I am, just going, no, just throw it together, how. And of course, I just made exactly the same mistake, which is that this. Oh, fine. Just. Oh, only 90-degree turns. just. Ah. Well, that needs to go on. This just. Can I actually reserve a path for here? Oh, there we go. So much for that, eh? No, I know what a person what because I'm making enough of a mess in my own transport company. So you may wonder, like with these series, kind of wait for this train to sort of be sorted out. What kind of preparation, what kind of level of scripting do you do? So there is actually more than none, and I know this may come as somewhat of a surprise, but I usually go now these days. I go into these episodes usually with kind of what I'd call probably a talking point. I have something that I ultimately want to riff on, but generally it will just be sort of a single line or two, or maybe a few ideas, and I would just kind of riff on that, and we'll see where it takes me. And sometimes it takes me somewhere good, sometimes it takes me to somewhere really bad. But yeah, so these Let's Plays I do that. And that kind of came about because I found that with the science one. No. Let me actually not go straight in with the science, because I need to explain a sort of wide, open TTD community thing. So there is an unfortunate tendency sometimes that whenever you start discussing sort of game mechanics and things like that, there is always someone who has to come out and has to basically approach the subject as, I am smarter than everyone else. Now, I've been playing this game for kind of 27 years, and I know the one thing that I've learned in that is almost certainly not true universally across all things. But I found when I was recording science, nobody actually went full on into that. But I felt the tone of some of the some comments I was getting on the earlier episodes. I was like, there's an elevated risk of that. We're kind of in a sort of amber situation for, I'm going to sooner or later get a comment that really annoys me because someone is going to go, I've misinterpreted what you've said because I found that if I misinterpret it, I can go, I'm smarter than you. And so kind of with the science, I started to kind of scripting it a bit more, maybe testing it out a bit more, because it was very freewheeling at first. And I thought it was kind of, it was going to invite that sort of discussion. And once you get that kind of discussion, it's very, very hard to get out of it. With these, it just doesn't seem to matter, I think, because it would be a completely redundant thing to do. I mean, you're sitting here looking at me with a spaghetti mess of a station with a crashed train across it. And there's no need to go, I'm smarter than you, because it's pretty obvious that that is the case. You can't even build a station correctly. It's just not working out. Okay, let's try to pretend. Let's try to pretend that I had some sort of design here that I was actually thinking of. And so, what the problem with this is? This needs to be. Excuse me there. This needs to be some slightly more. Well, no, it doesn't need to be more anything. It needs to be less. It needs to be a lot less of everything. There we go. That's what I was aiming for. And this is the kind of thing, because what I was kind of fearful of, that what would happen if I was doing that as a serious, this is the way that you should make your stations. Yes, those are loading, that's fine. This is going to have an appalling rating because it's, it's up to good already. Let's see if the other train is actually making its way somewhere. Let's let that go to Newquay. Let's connect up another coal mine while we're doing this. Yes. If I was doing this as sort of a, ways to build terminal stations in time. Ooh, there you go. The airport's disappeared. AI has probably disappeared. I wonder what industries we could go still. Now, so this connects to this one. Oh yes, this does connect to this one. So I could actually make this a connection into here. This sort of little network around here. And that would be quite a nice way of doing it, wouldn't it? So I'm going to pop the station all the way back here. Oh, this one next to oil. I think we already have an oil refinery. And this would be dangerous, actually, because if I were to connect this up, there's not very much waiting tracks. So you need to add an extra couple of platforms. That makes this station a bit inefficient, but I don't think efficiency and throughput of trains is going to be too much of a problem currently. But yes, that sort of tendency is what has sometimes, if should I protect the AI? Yeah, let's do that. Let's be nice for once. Yes, people love doing things like if I were to put that station in the context of something that was far more like I'm at least pretending I know what's going on. There we go, just getting rid of the very train that I wanted to follow. There we go. Let's pin that. That's better. Make sure I'm not sharing any orders. So, yes, if I were to do that, and I were to evolve it naturally, as I was doing there. No, actually, naturally, I mean, in a very inept way. I would inevitably have got someone to, would start coming in, and thankfully, this doesn't really happen. We did have nice commenters. So do I that. But some would, if I started doing too much of that, I'd inevitably get someone come in to watch one video or one off and go, if you're trying to build a station that services 4 trains at once, why would you start building it in such a spaghetti fashion? I always build them immediately as a roll-on, roll-off station, which is the most efficient station design. I haven't even signaled that. There you go. That's the thing to pick up on. Yes, and it's just like that's why I tend to script the science ones a bit more because I know that it's kind of a higher risk of that happening. And people who watch the Let's Plays are just used to the fact that I just meddle around and have no idea what I'm doing. Yes, but I will say, and so this is where we go to slide into sort of genuinely serious moment here, because I know that this is a community which had, a lot of people have what you would call sort of non-neurotypical characteristics, and this is something that I will be totally honest that I struggled with a lot in my earlier life, which is one of the worst things that you can do in conversation with people. One of the things that will really, really just turn people against you very quickly, that will make you go, I just don't want to talk to you, is to approach conversations in a way where you're, whether deliberate or not, the way that you come across sounds like you are trying to go, I am so much cleverer than you. And if you do that, you will find people will not react well. And it's very, very easy. I say this. I know that for some people it's not very easy to kind of modulate the way that you talk, the way that you approach conversations, but it is achievable with a level of some difficulty in practice to go, well, hang on, am I going to come across like this? And so there we go. I torpedoed my series of politics in the previous episode. Now I've torpedoed it with kind of, advice on acting in a way that people find acceptable conversation. But yes, but that is my useful piece of advice, is very much consider that, because it is one of the ways which you can very, very quickly make people think within a few minutes sometimes being introduced is, I don't like this person. And that's one of the quickest ways to do it, is to come across and go, make people think, this person is just, they're not really talking, they're just trying to come across as cleverer than me. No, I'd like to leave it there, but I feel that that's a very, very sour sort of low note to end on. So let's not end it there. Let's see if we can find it. Actually, a good note to end it on is it worked. My wood trains are working. In fact, how many trains do we have? Let's group. Let's create coal hole by coal trains. I know we had a whole series of jazz-based jokes on that. So, yes, there we go. That's a wonderful thing I talked about earlier. So jazz has many, many subgenres. And one of the subgenres that I actually quite like is called sort of hard bop. It's a genuine musical genre, this hard bop. And the hard bop has this wonderful thing, which is, you sort of have all the solos. It's very kind of typical jazz solos. You piano that goes on, and then you've got sort of trumpet solo and things like that. And then it's quite a drum solo. That's I think where sort of the hard from hard bop comes in, because it's definitely very sort of going hard on the drums. But then they have a bass solo. And the kind of sort of, particularly with the kind of sort of, big plucked bass that they have in jazz, it kind of sounds less like a solo in the records and more like someone's having an elastic band fight over in the corner. One of the things the band did before they started playing the jazz was to go through some sort of occult ritual in which they built and gave life to an elastic band golem, and then one band member is having to sort of fight it over in the corner, and they sort of turn the microphone on and they just hear whatever. They're not in any fit state to give a rendition of a jazz bass solo. Yes, there's there's 20 seconds of someone trying to dismantle an elastic band golem in the corner. They're now back to the jazz. And speaking of back to the jazz, I think this is the time to bring all of those solos and the battling of the elastic band golem to a close, and I shall see you in a future video.